start on our mat, crisscross applesauce, and we'll just pull those shoulders back and down. Open up that heart and breathe deeply into our belly. Open up behind us in our low back and feel those sitting bones rooting down into our mats. Take a few deep breaths in through our nose, out through our mouths. Feel that tension and judgment just exhale away. Let go of any expectations that we may have of ourselves or of our practice. It's good to set an intention, but expectations always tend to lead, well, I can't say always tend to lead to disappointment. So if we just let go of that and focus on the connection that we make with our bodies today. And then as we inhale, we're just going to lengthen in our spine, begin to open up in between all of those vertebrae behind us. And then as we exhale, just a little twist, walking our hands around to the right. Nothing serious, just a tiny twist. We're even just going to keep our chin in line with our chest. And back to the center. Lengthen on that inhale, and then we'll exhale around to the left. And back to the center. Inhale, let's lift those hands up high. Good. Exhale, let's go a little side stretch over to the right. Pressing our left hip down in toward the mat, reaching with the fingers up above our head. And back up to the top. And we'll exhale over to the left, reaching up and over with that right arm. And back up to the top. And exhale, let's bring those arms back down to our thighs or our knees. Good. Just a couple of circles with our shoulders, and then inhale. Let's pull those shoulders back. Lift the heart. Little tiny arch in the spine. We can lift our nose up toward the sky, and then exhale. Let's round in the spine. We'll bring our chin toward our chest. And then inhale, lift. And exhale, we'll round. One more time. Inhale, we'll lift. Exhale, rounding. And then back to the center. Good. And now let's lift our right hand up over our head and see if we can kind of drop that shoulder away from our ear. And then we'll bend and we'll try and touch our upper back with our hand without pushing our head forward. Good. We can use that left hand to just encourage the arm. Good. And then we'll release and take that right arm across our body again, thinking about taking that shoulder away And then we can use the left hand to keep that arm moving across, dropping the shoulder, reaching with the fingers. We can even just do some little wrist and finger wiggles. Good. And then releasing. And now what we'll do is we'll take the back of our hand and put it on our hip like a little teapot, right? Drop the shoulder, and now this left hand is going to come around, touch the elbow, and bring it forward this direction. Drop the shoulder, keeping the back nice and straight and tall. And release, and we can shake it out, and we'll move over to the other side. Left hand reaches up high, and then we'll try and scratch that impossible spot in our back using our right hand to encourage that arm to stretch a little bit more without pushing our head down. We should still be able to look forward as we do this. Use that breath to keep the shoulders relaxed. And we'll release and bring the left arm across the body, dropping the shoulders, reaching with the fingers. And then again, if we would like, we can move around in the wrist and wiggle those fingers. And releasing, and then taking that hand to the hip, little teapot handle here, lowering the shoulder, and then we'll use the right hand to encourage that elbow to come forward. And tall spines, breathing deeply. And then we'll release that arm, shake them out. And then we'll bring our hands forward. We'll roll over those shins and come onto our tabletop. Opening up those fingers wide, pressing into the mat, straight underneath of those shoulders. Our knees are bent underneath of our hips. Good. And we'll just come back to a child's pose. Bringing our butts over our heels. Drop our head. Relax the shoulders. Good. And then inhale. Let's come up to a little plank. So shoulders over the wrists. Our back is nice and straight. Hips are opening in the front. And then exhale, let's hinge back to our child's pose. Inhale, coming forward to our plank. Tucking the tail. Exhale, hinging only at the hips and the shoulders as we bring ourselves back. Inhaling up. And one more time, exhaling back. Good. This time, let's inhale up. And now exhale, chest will come forward, elbows go back, and we'll lower ourselves down onto our bellies. Hands are underneath of our shoulders. Inhale, let's scoop that chest forward and then up into our little cobra. And then press back to our child's pose. Inhale, coming up to our little plank. Exhale, little chaturanga. Inhale, little back bend. There's a theme. Pressing back to our child's pose, which in a way is a little downward facing dog. Good. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Inhale, little back bend, really scooping that chest forward, opening up in that low back, and then press back, child's pose. Good. Let's inhale, coming forward, and we're going to bring that right foot up to the top of our mat, outside of our hands into a little lunge. Wiggle our way into it. Wake up those hips. Good. And now exhale, keeping that right foot forward. We're going to bring those hips back to a half split, pointing the toes up to the sky. Our tail points back behind us. Not rounding, we're lengthening. Inhale, let's come forward. Exhale, let's go back. Inhale, let's come forward. And we'll leave this left hand on the floor. Lift up the right for a little twist. Good. Exhale, hands come back down. Sink into that lunge. Nice long spine as we inhale, and we'll go back to that half split on the exhale. Good. Coming forward. And now the left hand is going to stay on the floor. Right hand is going to reach back and see if we can find those left toes into corkscrew pose. Pressing into our left hand, our left foot. Lengthen. Pull that toe or that heel in towards our butt, that left foot. Good. And releasing. Hands come back, and we'll step all the way back to our child's pose. Let's inhale up. Little plank. Exhale, lower ourselves down. Inhale to our little back bend. Press back to child's pose. Inhaling up, let's bring that left foot forward into our little lunge. Wiggle our way into the pose. Wake this side up. Good. And then on our next exhale, we'll walk our way back to our half split. Toes point up to the sky on this left foot. Gonna tilt that pelvis so that our chest comes forward. Hands can be on the thigh, on the shin. If we've got yoga blocks, we can use those, or we can use the floor. Good. And then inhale, let's come forward. Exhale, we'll go back. Inhaling forward. Exhaling back. One more time. Inhale, let's come forward. Exhale, back. And now inhale, we'll come forward. Right hand will stay on the floor. And then lifting up the left hand for our little twist. And back down. Exhale, let's go back to our little half split. And forward. Again, right hand will stay on the floor. Let's reach back, find those right toes with our left hand. Lengthen in that spine, sink those hips down, pull the heel in towards our bum. And we'll release. Both hands come down to the mat. We'll step back into our child's pose. Inhale, we'll come up, little plank. Exhale, we'll lower down. Good. One more little cobra, scooping that chest forward and back, child's pose. Keeping those hips over our heels, let's walk our hands around to the right. And back to the center. And then exhaling them over to the left. And back to the center. From here, let's spread those fingers out wide, out in front of us. We'll tuck those toes underneath of our butts. Open up those arches and behind our ankles. Stretch out those toeses. Good. And now press into all of those fingers. Press into our toes. We'll lift our bums up toward the sky. Pedal the feet. Lengthen from our fingertips all the way up to our tails. And find our downward facing dog. Good. And now, with little tiny steps, we're just going to walk those feet up towards our hands into our forward fold. And if we need to bend our knees a little bit, we are certainly welcome to do that. You can even kind of pedal those legs a little bit more, continuing to wake those up. And then bringing our hands to our shins, lengthening in the legs and the spine, looking forward for a half lift. And then exhale, we'll fold forward again. Softening the knees and begin to roll our way up. All the way up to the sky. And then exhale, hands come down to our sides for Tadasana. Palms are facing forward, pulling the shoulders back, lifting from the arches as we press our heels and toes into the ground. Thighs, glutes, abs, back is all active. Lifting from the top of the head. Good. And then inhale, let's bring those hands up high again. Exhale, bringing the thighs together, big circles with the arms as we sit down into our chair. And inhaling up. Exhale, let's gently soften the knees and we'll hinge at the hips as we fold forward. Inhale to a flat back, long legs. Exhale, we fold again, hands find our mats, and we'll step back with the left foot into a full lunge. Left hand will stay on the floor, right hand comes up to the sky. And back down. Let's step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, let's come forward into a plank. Plank can be on our toes or we can lower down to our knees, pressing into those hands, pulling the shoulder blades apart behind us. Exhale, shoulders come forward, elbows go back as we lower ourselves down. And then inhale, we have the choice of doing our little cobra or we can come up to upward facing dog. Let's tuck those toes, lift the hips, press back for downward facing dog. Lifting up that right leg. We'll step it forward all the way up to our hands. Finding our balance here, let's lift the hands up high for a high lunge. Good, taking that right hand back, left hand forward. Little twist here to the right. Back to the center. And then down to the floor with our hands. We'll step forward with that left foot into our forward fold. Drop the head, let the arms hang. Inhale to a half lift. Exhale, we fold. And then rolling as we rise up. Exhale, hands come down, Tadasana. Inhale, lifting high. Exhale, let's sit down into that chair. Should feel our tummies being active and pressing in toward those thighs. Inhale up. Exhale, folding forward, hinging at the hips. Inhale to a flat back. Let's exhale, fold. Hands find our mats and we'll step back with that right foot into our lunge. Good. Let's keep that right hand on the floor. Lift up the left. And back down. And then we'll step back for our downward facing dog. Inhale forward. Exhale, we'll lower down. Inhale, we'll scoop our way into our choice of back bend. Upward facing dog or cobra. You can even do sphinx if we would like. Let's tuck those toes. Lift those hips. Press back, downward facing dog. We'll lift up the left leg. Press it back behind us. Nice long leg. And then we'll kick ourselves in the bum. Bring that knee into our chest. Step forward. From here, let's find our balance and we'll come up to a high lunge. We'll take that left hand back, little twist to the left. Back up to the top. And exhale, hands come down. Step forward with the right into our forward fold. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, let's fold. See if we can get that chest a little bit lower. While we're here, let's do a little twist from down here. So we'll take our right hand, keep it on the floor. We're gonna bend this right knee really, really deeply, keeping the left leg long, long, long as that lengthens all the way out our hip. Our left hand comes up to the sky. And slowly we'll come back down. We can pedal the legs a little bit if we'd like. And then we'll switch over to the second side. Left hand will stay on the floor. Bend the left knee. Lengthen the right leg all the way up through to our fingers, reaching toward the sky. And then exhale, releasing down, bending the knees, releasing the arms. And then slowly we'll roll our way up. Hands come all the way up to the sky. And then exhale to our sides for Tadasana. One breath here. Good. Inhale, hands come up high. And now let's exhale into our chair, sitting down into our chair. Arms are out in front of us. They can be completely out in front of us or up toward the sky. We can bend the elbows if that feels better on our shoulders. We can even bring them to our hearts in prayer. Good. And now let's just play with some balance. Let's lift up one heel. And lower it back down. And then we'll lift up the other heel. How does that feel? And back down. Let's see, let's squeeze those thighs together. Let's lift up both heels. And then lower back down and just fold forward from there. That was a lot of chair. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, we fold. Let's step that left foot back for our lunge. And then we'll just drop that left knee back behind us. Switch sides here. down to our half lunge, and then we'll come up. Hands can come to the thigh for a moment as we find that balance, sink down into the lunge. Eventually, we can bring those hands up high into a little crescent lunge, bringing the heart up toward the sky, hips forward, shoulders back. Good, let's bring those hands to our hearts, palms together, pressing hard. And now take that left elbow all the way around. See if we can find the outside of that right hip. Using the breath to help our balance, to deepen our twist, keep our focus. And then unwind. Hands come down to our mats. We'll tuck that left toe back behind us so we can come into that full lunge again, and we'll step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, let's come forward to our plank. Exhale, we'll come all the way down to our tummies. We'll release those toes, soften them to the mat. Hands can come out to a goalpost type situation here. And we can even just rest our heads down on our mat. Good. And now let's take this right arm and we're just going to place it underneath of our head for like a little pillow. The left hand is going to reach back and find our left toe this time. Instead of crossing, we're going to find same side toe. Begin to pull that heel in toward our butt. Press that hip down into our mat. Lengthen all along in that quad. And now we're going to make sure that our grip is on the big toe side of our foot. Thumb is pointing up. So we're turning our arm back behind us. Now we're going to kick in to this big, into the hand with our foot so that we create a lot of tension. And we're going to use this right arm to help stabilize our chest as we lift up into a half bow. Feel that left hip still press into our mat. Shoulders opening up. And then slowly we'll release. Hands come underneath of our shoulders. We tuck our toes underneath of us. We'll press back, downward facing dog. Good, lift up that right leg. We'll step forward into our lunge. We'll step with the left into our forward fold. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, we fold. And inhale, roll our way up to the top. Exhale, let's sit down into that chair. Good, strong chair. Good. Squeezing those thighs together. Let's see if we can lift up the heels. And lower those buddies back down. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, we fold. Let's step back with that right foot into our lunge. And then we'll just lower the knee all the way down into our half lunge here. Find our balance. We can bring our chest up high. Hands can come to the thigh, to our hearts, or all the way up high. Eventually, we want to get up high for a little crescent lunge. Tiny back bend here. And then we'll bring our hands to our hearts. We lengthen on that inhale. Exhale, let's take that right elbow all the way around to the left knee. One more breath. Lengthen on that inhale. Sink down into the lunge. Deepen the twist. And then we'll unwind. Hands come down to the mat. We tuck that right toe behind us. Step back, downward facing dog. Inhale forward into our plank. We exhale down to our bellies and our chest. Arms can come out into full post arms. We'll take a couple of breaths here. And then we can bring this left arm underneath of our head. And then we'll reach back with our right and try and find those right toes. Lengthen all along in the quad. Pull the heel in towards our butt. And now let's turn our grip so that our thumb is pointing up towards the big toe side of our foot. Should be the inside of that foot. Pull the shoulder back and begin to kick into the hand. And using that left arm on the ground to help with our stability as we open ourselves up for half bow. Feeling that right hip still pressing down into our mat. Trying to keep our knees from splaying out wide as we do this, which is tough. And exhale, we'll release. Hands come underneath of our shoulders. We tuck our toes and we'll press back into downward facing dog. Pedal it out, wag our tails if we need. And then find that length in our spine. Good. And then making our way up, we can step walk or hop to the top of our mat. Bending the knees, slowly rolling our way up. And then exhale into our Tadasana. Good. Let's work on a little balancing. My little tiny dancers. So we're going to lift up the right hand. Like we have a question. Ooh, pick me, Mr. Kater. Right? We'll bend the left knee, kick ourselves in the butt with that left foot, and then give ourselves that thumbs up with the left hand and keep that grip that we were just doing on the floor here, and then begin to kick again into that left hand as we continue to pull that left hip forward. We can stay upright if we would like. We can begin to hinge forward. If we get a little wobbly and we need a break, we come out of the pose and then do our best to get back into it. And now let's slowly come back upright. Release the foot. Both hands come up high. And now exhale. Let's take that right hand back behind us, left hand forward, just a little standing twist here. And back up to the top. And exhale, soften the knees. Let's fold forward. Right here, just hang. We can sway side to side if we'd like. And then we'll release those elbows if we were holding on to them. Bend the knee, roll our way up. Exhale, hands come down to our sides for Tadasana. Take one breath here. Then we'll move on to the other side for our dancer. So lifting up that left hand. Begin to lift out of this left hip as we bend the right knee. Kick ourselves in the bum. Find that grip. Thumbs up. Back behind us. Bring those knees together. Hip comes forward. And then kick into that right hand. If we would like, we can hinge our way forward. If we don't like, we don't do it. And then slowly, we'll come back up. We'll release the foot. Both hands come up high. And now let's do a little twist to the left, taking that left hand back, right hand forward, pulling that left hip forward as well, just twisting in the spine. And then back up to the top. And now let's bring those hands down to our heart center, palms together, shoulders back, and we'll open up those feet. Heel toe, a little bit wider than our hips. This distance will differ for everyone, and then we'll begin to lower those bums down into our Malasana squat. Lifting the hearts, lowering the butts, opening the chest, not down in here. We're proud and strong. And then our hands can come down. We'll lower ourselves down to seated. If we need, we can give ourselves a little wiggle, a little shake before we come all the way down onto our backs. We'll roll up into our little egg, hugging those knees into our chest. We're even going to bring our chin and nose toward those knees. Good. And then inhale, let's lift both of those legs up to the sky. Relax our shoulders down into our mats, flexing the feet and just touching behind our legs, either on the thigh, behind the knees or the calves, and just slowly coax those legs towards us. And now, slightly, let's bend the knees, bring those legs towards us a little bit, and then lengthen in the legs again. Bend the knees, bring the legs to us, and lengthen again. Instead of trying to force those legs to come where they don't want to go, we can trick them by bending the knees. It's a little bit easier, and then lengthen. And now, both hands will come to that right leg. Left leg, we get to rest down onto the ground. Continue to encourage this right leg for 3, 2, 1, and then let's bend that knee super deep. Hold the shin so that we're bringing that knee tight, tight, tight into our body. We're lengthening in this left leg down here on the floor. And then we'll release the right, guide it across our body for a spinal twist here. Our right hand comes out to the side, relaxing that right shoulder into our mat. Our left arm can come out to the side as well, or we can just let it rest on the top of that right leg. Envision our breath moving up and down the spine, touching all of the muscles. Permitting them to relax so that we can deepen this twist without force, without pain. And then a big deep inhale. Let's come back to the center. Both knees into our chest. Inhale, both legs up to the sky, waterfall pose, relaxing our shoulders and head down into our mat. And just gently with our fingertips, bringing those legs in towards us. And then we can release that right leg. Both hands come to the left. And we'll hold this leg here for 3, 2, 1, and bending the knee, holding the shin, hugging it tight, tight, tight into our bodies. And then we'll release that leg and guide it across into the spinal twist on this side. Left arm is out to the side. Both shoulders are relaxing in towards our mat. And then the right hand can rest on this left knee or can hang out onto the side on the floor as well. And now let's take one more big inhale. We'll come back to the center. Both knees into our chest. Another inhale, hands and feet come up to the sky. And we'll move around in those wrists and the ankles for Krakalasana. You can point and flex, wiggle the fingers and the toes. Just get all of those little wiggles and twitches out. And then when we're ready, we'll exhale down, lowering the hands down above us, the feet down below us. Make ourselves as long as we possibly can, reaching those fingers, stretching out the legs. And then one big exhale, release everything to where it wants to go for Shavasana. This is our time to give ourselves permission to just be. Nothing to do, but to just breathe and heal. Now we have a choice. If we would like to stay in our Shavasana for a little bit longer, please do. If you are ready, deepen our breath. Wiggle our fingers and our toes. Slowly come back into our space. We'll bring our knees into us. We'll roll onto our side. Gently helping ourselves up to seated. Keeping our eyes closed. Our thoughts inward. Take a moment to check in with how we are feeling right now. Let's do our best to hold on to the stillness and the peace that we've created during our Shavasana. The balance and the openness that we've created during our practice. And the connection that we've created between our conscious self, physical self, emotional self. Inhale, we'll lift our hands up to the sky, bringing together all of that happy, warm, positive energy. And then exhaling our hands down to our hearts with gratitude for all that there is around us, all that we do for ourselves. And all that we receive from others. I thank you so much for joining me today, for allowing me to help you through your practice. It is always very much a pleasure for me and an honor for me to be able to join you and you join me. I wish you all a very, very happy day. The light and the divine in me recognizes and respects the light and the divine in each of you. And when we are together, whether physically or virtually, we are one. Namaste.